Welcome to the podcast where relationships, confidence, and determination all converge into an amazing, heartfelt experience. This is Speaking from the Heart.
Welcome back to episode number 89 of Speaking from the Heart. Today, we're going to Neverland. That's right, the place of imagination, creativity, and opportunity awaits us. Are you ready to go on that magical ride? Visit Tinkerbell, perhaps Peter Pan himself, and maybe even duel with Captain Hook? Now, if you're not familiar with this age-old tale, we'll spend some time talking about it. But I often think about the possibilities that we have if we're able to explore that mystery, that opportunity, that adventure that lies ahead. If we're able to create not just these opportunities in our lives to explore and to be able to understand that we don't always have to do the day-to-day, but if we're able to think about what we can do for the future, that's going to make such a big difference. And it does tie in to self-development, personal development, professional development, even business development for that matter. And I'll certainly make that point as we go ahead in this exciting episode. Now let's give you the synopsis of really what happened during Peter Pan. I know I'm not giving too much of a spoiler because this has been around for 120 years. So if you haven't read Peter Pan yet, be advised, you might want to skip ahead so that you get past the storytelling portion. This story of Peter Pan was actually started by James M. Barrie's 1904 play, which he originally wrote, Peter Pan, which has been adapted into a variety of different films, TV shows, and other animated series. But it's all evolved during around three children, Wendy, John, and Michael, which are all part of the Darling family. Now, these children were swept away by Peter Pan into this imaginary world of Neverland, where essentially there was this war between not only Peter's gang of ragtag runaways, which often were attributed to being orphan boys, which takes place essentially in the areas in which children were housed in London, England during that time. That war between the runaways and the evil pirate Captain Hook took place in this Neverland adventure. Essentially, between witnessing the war and seeing that this was happening back and forth, Peter Pan rallied up the runaways and was able to fight back successfully against Captain Hook. Part of the story that is really the pivotal point of what we want to talk about today is the fact that the family, the Darling family themselves, the parents, didn't believe in this nursery of Neverland and getting fed up about the stories that were being told about being able to solve all kinds of problems. Neverland would never exist by the fact that if we weren't able to think about what opportunities that we have in our lives to explore and potentially achieve, they wouldn't become what they are today. Peter essentially helps with the assistance of Tinkerbell, which is the fairy that assists along the way to help create these opportunities to not only address Captain Hook and his dangerous ways of how he was thinking about handling all kinds of different situations, but essentially realizing that in hope and finding that we can have this make-believe adventure, we can make everything come alive. Now, I know I really butchered telling that whole story in a very few amount of minutes, but the main point of it is to focus on the fact that the parents who didn't believe in fairy tales, nursery rhymes, make-believe, were often then on the other side after the adventure ended, able to connect with their children and see some of the things that were missing in your life if you just take some time and refocus on what is actually in front of you. Peter and his friends did go through a lot of different things in the overall story. That includes not only the treachery that took place between the different types of people that were involved with the whole story, even the different things that would happen that led to the fact that Tinkerbell, along with other friends, were able to save the day. I don't know about you, but for me, listening to this story as a kid growing up really made me feel a sense of comfort. I was really a fan of the Robin Williams adaptation of the whole Peter Pan story, which is called Hook. It was a movie that was made by Disney based on real-life characters that played Peter Pan and the rest of the family. What made the story so appealing in that adaptation is the belief that we have everything that we can ever achieve right in front of our eyes, but we should never lose sight of what we're potentially able to become. Now, why is this so important when we think about developing ourselves? In many episodes, we have talked about the importance of being able to stay focused on what the goal is that we're trying to achieve, whether that is something that we're trying to build a routine in or even create opportunities to excel. We have to be consistent in being able to understand where are some of those pitfalls that take place. But those pitfalls or those issues that might come up don't always translate into the fact that we have to overcome and address situations that are often out of our control. In other words, these distractions that we have in our lives, whether that is through Netflix, whether that is through alcohol, whether that is through family obligations, no matter what you want to call it, it's something that often distracts us from being able to achieve what we truly want to have. Whether we have that fitness goal, whether we are trying to make sense of the educational components of being able to learn something new at our job, in education and getting that new degree, we have to figure out what is it that we need to do to translate that imaginary opportunity into the parallel real world. This story that is about Peter Pan and the orphan children, let alone the family that is represented, often begs this ultimate question. How can we lead the best lives without feeling pressures from those that don't want us to explore our own version of Neverland? For many years, I was distracted by the opportunities that were set forth by not only the things that I was accomplishing, but even what people said I was able to accomplish. Meaning, I had many distractions, and they stood in my way from ultimately achieving what I wanted to do in my life. It's not very easy sometimes to take a big step back, look at the bigger picture, and say, this is what I wanted to do for the longest time. Why can't I set aside time to be able to do it? And I find it even interesting in my own coaching business, looking at a variety of different people that have approached me for services, never wanting to take that first step, although they keep talking about wanting to take that first step as well. I have even had people go so far as they are threatened by my existence. Threatened by my own existence. I am the Captain Hook of not only personal and professional development to them, but not being able to grow because of me? How absurd. But there are people out there, which I have also said to many of my guests, that sometimes finding the right person that isn't your Captain Hook is really, truly needed. If we think about the fact that Captain Hook in itself is a manifestation of resisting that temptation to change, that ability to create that best value in our lives, whether that is making more money, having more clients, whatever that end goal is that you set for yourself many, many episodes ago or many, many years before that, you have to understand that sometimes the enemy is standing right in front of us, ourselves, being Captain Hook. Now, I've said a lot, and I mean a lot, when it comes to just those last few statements. So let's break that down a little bit. First off, why would I ever say that I am Captain Hook in the first place? If you think about it, change in itself was something that Captain Hook was afraid of. He would constantly fight this ragtag bunch of people, these kids for that matter, being able to address or return to a life in which they are able to explore who they really are. They knew that if they were to release these boys, Captain Hook would be in dangerous trouble. So if I were to release some of the dreams and aspirations and goals that you have locked inside yourself, would you be afraid of actually trying to achieve them? Would you feel self-conscious about having someone else work with you to create those opportunities that you are trying to explore and exacerbate in your life? Absolutely. Which is why many people put off the opportunity for coaching, let alone even reaching out to have that discussion in the first place. Change actually means being intentionally conscious of the ways and means in which you are able to reform and redesign the things that you have in your life. Most recently, I have been doing that the last 4 years. It has now been over 4 years since I tried to end my life. And I know that this topic in itself does have some trigger points for many of us. So I encourage you, if you are exploring this sort of idealization of trying to end your life or feeling that you're alone in this adventure of yourself, please know that you are not alone. And I encourage you to call 988 and find your way in which you can get back on track. Because let's be real, sometimes we need that extra help to be able to do what we need to do to create that best value in ourselves. But even with that said, even if you don't do that, even if you do call 988 or visit the website, which I'll put in the episode notes, remember that talking about this and exploring this idea means that you have to understand that you have opportunity in this world. When I tried to end my life, when I tried to put away all these different issues, all these different problems that I've had, what I always encountered more than anything else is the realization that Captain Hook was trying to get me. The people that were trying to say no to me were the loudest voices in the room, all the other pirates that were trying to consume my life. I know that's a very rudimentary and cruel way of which we're able to design and explain what this concept is all about. But if you really break it down, Captain Hook in itself might be the manifestation that is creating all these issues in the first place. Which then begs the next question. What is it that we're able to do today that allows us to explore the opportunity to be able to understand and build upon that adventure in our lives, even when Captain Hook and other fictitious people, or maybe real-life people for that matter, stand in our way? We have to design a world for ourselves that allows us to not only crave opportunity, to excite ourselves with the ability to learn and grow in a variety of different ways, but we also have to understand and realize the true potential of ourselves by not being able to visit Neverland. Neverland takes many different forms, whether that is being in a car, driving long distances, whether that is understanding and creating that oasis in your own house, maybe at a local park, maybe in a loud, crowded environment. Regardless of where that environment is, we need to be able to go back to it. We need to be able to form that opportunity in our lives to explore, gather our thoughts, and realize that we have had these dreams, these aspirations for such a long time. The hustle and bustle of our life always seems to put us off pace of what we're able to really accomplish. And that means that we have to take a big step back and look at the bigger picture. We have to understand that sometimes trying to go through life and navigate through all the different types of issues means that we're going to be put off course. In other words, being on that ship that we're sailing on, being the prisoner of Captain Hook, is sometimes when we need to break free, be able to fly away into another land and be able to learn from other children and other opportunities of people that we get to associate with to help create what we want to create in our lives. How can we lead our best lives without feeling pressure from those that don't want us to explore this Neverland or that real world that we want to create for ourselves? I can't tell you enough that it's just about giving yourself some space, giving yourself the ability to create, inspire, and set yourself onto a pedestal of your own. Give yourself that attention where you otherwise wouldn't be giving yourself any attention or mind to what you look like, feel like, or even think about. Many people that I have worked with, even associated with learning from other podcasts, reading books, or even designing and infiltrating new thoughts and ideas into the mantra and the work that we're trying to create in our lives. It takes hard work. And I don't know why, but today it always seems that we have some sort of excuse to not do the hard work. Whether it's the distractions of everyday life, whether we're trying to be busy, in air quotes, busy, or just trying to have an excuse to not do what we should really be doing. Trying to explore our Neverland means that we have to understand ourselves. We have to be able to learn and grow from the things that we're developing inside of ourselves so that we're able to explore with other people that are going to inspire and push us into new levels. That's the whole purpose of even doing coaching, which is why I try so hard to get mentored and coached by others, because I want to be learning and growing all at the same time. Staying stagnant is never the answer. Because when you stay stagnant and you stay focused on just the goals that you have on a daily basis as opposed to looking at the long term, you end up like the parents of the Darling family, not feeling like you're able to see the bigger picture and, unfortunately, not utilizing your imagination. This world is ever changing, and if we're ever going to continue to have a voice in it, we have to keep using our imaginary voice at the same time. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself in the vast new opportunities, whether that is defeating Captain Hook or even flying around like Peter Pan with his companion Tinkerbell to be able to fight and sway the different people that are feeling ashamed and ridiculed for their actions, for their desires, and for their dreams. Because if you live that best version of your life, not only are you going to create the opportunities that you want to see, not only are you going to feel much better about flying around, but you're going to be looked at as somebody that might join those lost boys in Neverland and be able to teach them a thing or two about not only responsibility, not only things like determination, confidence, and the ability to form relationships, but you're going to be able to help so many people and yourself learn new things. And hey, while you're doing it, why don't you craft that new idea and stop putting off that plan that you've been putting off for so long? You can do it in Neverland, and using your imagination will allow it to turn into reality, and reality is where it counts the most. Let's stop holding ourselves back and start letting ourselves move forward for the opportunities that Neverland presents. Thanks for listening to episode number 89 of Speaking from the Heart, and I look forward to hearing from your heart very soon.
Thanks for listening. For more information about our podcast and future shows, search for Speaking from the Heart to subscribe and be notified wherever you listen to your podcasts. Visit us at www.yourspeakingvoice.biz for more information about potential services that can help you create the best version of yourself. See you next time.